a key unexpected factor in losing 140 pounds and maintaining it for 4 years. I am going to show you a video I have never released before. It's 4 years old. It gives us a little bit of an insight into this key thing. Okay, I am going to try really hard not to get too emotional with this one, especially given the video that I'm going to show you. The issue with losing weight, like somewhat unexpectedly yourself, and then having this unexpected viral following, which I've had, completely unexpected. I never planned to teach any of this, and I was just sort of like latched in, dialed in, losing the weight, and like, whoa, that actually worked. And so I wasn't in at the time of the weight loss maybe overly analytical about what exactly was working, at least not explicitly. I think I was very, very active in my own head, making iterative decisions. But when you make all of those decisions together at the same time, not super mindfully that you're going to need to teach it, it all ends up like its own big bucket of stuff that you did. And so then in teaching, do you teach the whole big bucket? How could you ever even imagine all the things in your life that might be relevant to weight loss? There's the what you eat, but then there's all kinds of factors around that. What of those factors were actually important? What of the what to eat factors were important? What of all the psychology factors were important? You simply don't know. You are a case of one. You are it, and it is a giant bucket full of variables. There is no way really to know what exactly was key. And so when I started out teaching this 4.5 years ago now, took it very general. And so I taught people, you know what, ratchet in your eating, like use a time restricted eating model and lower your carbohydrates. And that was my main message coming out of the gate. And as those of you who know me now or just finding me, you say, wait a minute, what you teach in terms of eating is highly specific. Yes, it actually is. And it took us at least a year to get to the point of understanding like the specificity of what I was eating was a key success factor. And so I began to teach that level of specificity in the what to eat aspect of what we do here at Eat Like a Bear. I mean, we've got to eat on point for weight loss. So what are some of the main factors in the what to eat question that drive success? And we now know this as like the ridiculously big meal model, okay? The ridiculously big salad, the ridiculously big skillet. Now, you might be doing something a little bit different, and that's fine. I mean, that is truly great. But the point is that it took some time for me to get in and focus on that specific meal framework. Likewise, it took 2 years before I started teaching about the big goal and having a certain type of goal setting philosophy that would drive weight loss success. I encourage you to find my big goal materials if you haven't. And the idea is, so much of the time in the weight loss industry, we're focused on like the pant size or the pounds. And I highly encourage everyone to think about their goal a little bit differently. Don't worry about like the numbers. Anything you can measure with a number, you're thinking about it wrong, in my opinion. Okay, we need to have like a positive, forward-looking vision of our lives that we're building. Your big goal should be that forward-looking positive view of what your life will be like in a year, in 2 years, even in a month, whatever it is, what you will be out doing. This is not anything about what you look like now, what you're going to look like in the future. It is about what you will be doing, how you will be engaging in your life. And it took 2 years for me to even articulate that point here in this community. And now we're 4 years out, and I have a little but important tweak to put on that whole big goal thing. And gosh, now that I've spent some months reflecting on what I'm about to tell you, I see how impactful this has been to me in losing the weight and maintaining the weight, especially maintaining the weight through this past year. As a lot of you know, our whole area here was devastated by a wildfire. It has really hurt my heart. It has challenged my own weight, my weight maintenance. And I have been very reflective on the struggles with weight maintenance in the past year because I have struggled. I've really paid more attention to my own heart in these days, in these hard days as I've struggled here in this devastated forest. And it has made me think back to the weight loss phase, to my weight loss phase, to my heart and like my spirit at the time of that just like massive and extraordinary commitment to daily good decisions. I mean, how did I do that? How did I stay so focused and so committed? And I've said many times before, it was driven by my big goal, and it certainly was. My goal was to get out and hike with my son, and I began at 280 pounds, living in that big goal, and I lived in it every single day. I drove him all over this forest. I drove behind him as he rode his bicycle down these roads, just like the epitome of fitness, 15-year-old awesome fitness that I got to see as I drove with my injured knee. I would park, I would limp around, and that was the beginning of something very, very big, of engaging in that goal every single day. That was so critical, but there's more. I got a little clue about this in the months before the fire. And you can find it on the YouTube channel here. We did a couple of vlogs, my son Frederick and I, where we were here in the forest, and we were actually looking for places that had not been burned in the prior year's castle fire. And so the castle fire hit the areas north of us, definitely hit some of our key hiking areas. And so you'll find us in those vlogs driving around saying, well, at least this place is not burned. That was us driving around like that the glass is half full, right? Those were the glass is half full vlogs. And one interesting point in one of them, there was this moment where Frederick and I thought we were lost. We thought we were lost out there, like in the middle of nowhere. We were very close to the Thule Indian Reservation. We weren't even sure if we were on the reservation or not, which would have been illegal. We were not on it, but we thought we were lost for a moment. And in that moment where we thought we were lost, we looked at each other and we laughed. We laughed like, oh my gosh, we're lost. Ha ha ha. What shall we do now? I was really struck, and I said something in the vlog about how I realized that part of like the energy my son Frederick and I have together as we hike is actually that spirit of adventure. We're lost. What great little adventure will we have trying to find our way out of this? I mean, is that how most people handle being lost? Laughing and like embracing the adventure of it? That is exactly what we were doing. We were embracing the adventure of it, and it simply had not occurred to me before that that spirit of adventure that was evident to me that day with him was part of what was fueling all of those hikes together in 2017 as I was losing the weight. I did a vlog that same summer too that is about good day and bad day strategies. And I talk about, and you all know already, even if you haven't seen that vlog, you know what a good day is, you know what a bad day is. You wake up and you're like feeling all chipper or whatever, you're ready for whatever's coming. That's a good day, okay? The bad days, you're in a slump, you're just struggling with depression, anxiety, stresses. You're really, really struggling. And by the way, for weight loss, for long-term weight loss, for any kind of consistent like application of any kind of weight loss strategy, it's bad days where it all falls apart. That's so flippin' obvious. That is so obvious. And so you see me out on this hike in the summer of 2021, and I take off these sunglasses and I say, like, I'm wearing these glasses, like I'm covering my eyes because I had been like crying. And I take the glasses off because I say, today is a bad day. And like, look, I look terrible. And I talk about my bad day strategies, how I get through bad days. That video does show I have specific strategies like right in my tool belt to pull out on the bad days. And some of those are things like I push myself to go out on a hike on the bad days. And I have certain rules, like rules that I follow when I go out on the hike. If I see another human being, I speak to them. That is one of my rules. I don't want to, usually. I want to just kind of stay inside myself and just kind of hike. I don't want to talk to people, but I talk to them because it's one of my rules. And I know if I talk to people, if I push myself to talking to them, I will end up feeling better. That's why it's one of my rules for bad days. That is why. Also on those hikes, I always find a plant to turn into a project, literally a wild plant. So I'm a forager, which means I go out and like harvest wild edible plants in the forest here and turn it into food, like turn it into dinner. Well, you can also harvest things that are not edible that maybe have a fragrance. You could turn them into a perfume. You can just do all kinds of things with plants if you kind of learn a bit about it and you just open your mind and your heart on those bad days to look around for the plants, to look around for them. And the reason I do that is when I'm out on the hike, it opens up like my mind and my spirit to discovery. And it changes the way I'm thinking and the way I am engaged with nature on those bad days. And it simply makes those bad days better because of the forward-looking way that I'm thinking, the way that I'm engaging just with those plants, engaged with the plants, trying to find like the plant to make the perfume or whatever it is. And then there's a payoff with that because I bring it home and I make that thing. Maybe I make a lip balm. Who knows what I make? But then I have that payoff from that trip. And all of these little things kind of just like chip away at like that bad day problem, make that day just a little bit better. But I do push myself into doing that. And so as I've taught before, those bad day strategies are also me engaging in my big goal. But I really want to shine a light on the spirit of those bad day strategies, especially those plants, going out into the world and looking for something, looking for that next thing, that next lip balm or that next like salad topping, whatever it is, whatever you find, being open to that discovery. That is what I'm talking about here today. So I'm out engaged in my big goal with the spirit of discovery. And this is where I'm going to show you a video. I made this video 4.5 years ago. It was recounting a very bad day that I had here. I made it, I did make it about 4 years ago now, and just coming out of that like core weight loss phase. So I feel like I was really, in the time that I made this video, very mentally in tune with the whole weight loss phase and what I was doing at that time. And so I want to point out, 4.5 years ago, this is how I handled the bad days. This is how I handled them, okay? And so this video is about what I did on a day in which I found out one of my very good friends had taken her life. And what did I do? Did I like drown myself in a bottle, which I really wanted to do? And so you're going to see here what I did. I want to show you the video and I want to talk a little bit about the spirit of this video. So here, why do we wildcraft for food and herbs? I thought I knew, but this wild spearmint I found this summer taught me something entirely new. It blew my mind. It made me a little bit emotional. I haven't been able to make this video for 3 months. So this life lesson was just after talking to a friend about wildcrafting. Why do we foragers forage? What makes us so crazy about foraging and so highly engaged in the topic? And you foragers know who you are, and you know you're highly engaged in this. Why? With great authority, I said, it's not about the plants per se. It's about getting out there. It's about the hunt. It's about the fresh air. It's about the excitement of maybe at the end of the day, you have a great harvest. If you don't have a great harvest, at least you had the excitement of trying. Some days we bring home a whole bounty and we get to bring it and cook it up in our kitchen or make some kind of great medicine out of it, but we always get the fresh air and the exercise regardless. So it's the hunt, right? But is it just about the hunt? Just a few days later, I found out that a good friend of mine had just died. Marissa and I went to graduate school together. She taught me how to use the internet in 1993. This is before Google, before Yahoo even. We were there on like a DOS-based screen trying to find government documents from Russia and from Poland. That was like our Friday night entertainment. Her death in June was a big blow. When I found out, I spent the first half of the day crying, and that's when I decided it was time to go on a hike. It would be a 5-mile hike to the top of the Needles Fire Lookout here in the Giant Sequoia National Monument. And it was a grueling hike for my physical condition. It's about an 1,800-foot elevation climb over 2.5 miles. Instead of staying home and crying, I went and hiked and cried. I could have been home drinking bourbon and crying, so I felt like it was a step up, at least to get out and hike. My son Frederick and I made it to the top of the Needles Fire Lookout, and we hiked down. My legs had serious leg burn going on, and somewhere along the trail I see a meadow. And I look out across it and I see some lavender colored pom-poms, and I think, that must be spearmint. Spearmint is common in this forest, and it took me back to a memory of Marissa when she visited us here some 10 years ago. We went to one high mountain meadow not far from where we were hiking this day at the Needles Fire Lookout. I caught this picture of Marissa and my husband and my son walking across a log, and you can see I caught Marissa as she was jumping off the log, and I catch her in mid-air in this photo. It's amazing. This is Marissa in one of our mountain meadows. She was beautiful and vivacious and brilliant. So I'm there on the trail, I see the spearmint, and even in my exhaustion and with a leg burn, I begin to run. Running towards those little pom-pom flowers, I shouted to Frederick, who's ahead of me on the trail, I shouted, "Frederick, get some bags out of the car. I think this is spearmint." So Frederick caught up with me with the bags, and we took in the scent of the spearmint and realized this was special spearmint. Now it's the same variety that we see in a lot of meadows up here. It's very common, but there's something about the microclimate. Sometimes very small changes in the microclimate will make a difference in the flavor profile or the aroma of a plant. And this plant was more fruity and bright than any spearmint we have found up here in the Giant Sequoia National Monument. We were excited. As we picked it, it was not lost on me that spearmint is a bit of a medicine. Literally, it will help improve your mood. It helps perk you up just a little bit. And so in that pom-pom flower was a natural medicine. But of course, given the circumstances of the day, and especially finding such a special stand of spearmint on that day, it brought new meaning to why we forage. I think about how many times I go out to forage and find exactly what I need that day. This mint was just an extra special reminder. Let's remember to hit the trail, and may we always have eyes to see the remedy that it offers us. So here you go. Now note the spirit of my 4-year-ago self and the whole notion that the remedy that we need, that our heart needs, we can find on the trail. I still have some of that mint, by the way. And let me point out, the only way you're going to find that remedy on the trail is with this sense of discovery and adventure in seeking it, in seeking that wild spearmint on the trail. It is that mental state of seeking it, of looking for it, of being in that state of discovery that is so critical. And yes, you will find remedies on the trail. And plants offer us so many remedies. But what I faced in the last year is that this forest is almost completely devastated. And the plants are largely gone. We have so many areas. So I'm sitting in a wonderful green belt here, and this is like a green island around my house. But we have so many areas that are just complete burns. And for those of you who also live in fire devastated areas, you'll know what I mean. I mean, there's some places where it's just like the undergrowth, and that's the best kind of fire because it just cleans. And there's some where like the conifers survive, and so that's like the second one you would choose. And then it just kind of gets worse and worse because there are some that are so hot that all of the seeds are burned, and it takes years for them to grow back. And very often they grow back differently too. And it just takes a lot of time in those cases. And that is what a lot of our areas here fall into that category. I mean, especially the giant sequoias that were, 1 or 2,000 years old. I mean, obviously, I won't be living long enough to see their babies grow to specimen giant sequoia trees. And so, for me, with my key remedy being go out on the trail and find your solution, like in these plants, is, by the way, a really, really great idea, and we all need to do that. But I was really challenged this year in the point that my plants are burnt up and gone. And so what do I do? And I actually spent some months, our roads were to the higher elevations were closed, and they are closed every winter. And so I had some months that I, couldn't even get up there. But I was very concerned when springtime came, what I would do, like my mental health on these days when I'm supposed to go out and harvest, spearmint, what I am supposed to do on those days, how I would get by, what I would do. And so I spent some months in the winter, the people who were in our engaged community, like what is now like the boot camp area at Eat Like a Bear. I was making my goals with everyone else. And so most people have weight loss goals, and I had goals that related to clearing the property. And I was just out like working like a beast. And my son built a hiking trail for me on this property, knowing that it would be there, and it's there. It's there for me. So there's that. Okay. But I was really concerned when those roads opened up, like how I would feel about it. And it's been months of struggle as I go up there and try to like embrace the change. But an interesting thing is, I came to realize and recognize that I need to be open when I'm out there and open to discovery, that is like the spirit, like that is the state of my heart that drives, the positivity that comes out of it, that helps me get through that bad day. So it's the process of discovering the mint, of looking for the mint. It's not the mint. It kind of is, but it kind of isn't. It's more than the mint. It's the adventure, the looking, the discovery, that openness out there on the trail. And so I started hiking in the burned areas. I didn't do it so much on bad days, but on better days where I knew it'd be okay. I'd be okay going through those devastated areas. And I just wanted to be open. Like, let me see what plants are coming back. Okay, in the spirit of the glass is half full. It is very bleak and gray out there to even talk about something being half full seems naive. But anyway, trying to have that attitude out there hiking. And something really extraordinary happened out there. I started hiking and I found this beautiful quartz rock. There's definitely some quartz around here. If you guys watch my videos, I have a large quartz fireplace in the living room. So there's native quartz, but you usually don't see it. It's been mined or whatever. There's not so much that it's lasted all these years. People remove it from the forest. I started finding it, and I was finding it because the areas were burned, like the, foliage was, all the ground cover was burned. And so it exposed quartz rock. So I would bring a rock home. And I was amazed then as I started looking around. I'd find like a bunch of quartz. A bunch. Like the next hike, wow, look at all that quartz. So much like I took a bunch home and then I took it back. I mean, there's no reason I should be taking all this quartz or whatever. Okay. And then, but I was really like, I never found quartz before. I never found it. And I wonder, is it because I was looking for the spearmint or because the plants were covering the quartz? I don't know. But I started finding a lot of quartz. And it was really touching my heart because it became kind of an adventure, like finding all the quartz. And then I started finding pieces of quartz that were just like more and more special. This is one of them, and I don't know if you can see, it has some very translucent elements, which is unusual for here. It's unusual for this area. So it's like extra special. And I found it. I found it. And I mean, I treasure it. And there was a hike I went on, and there was no rocks at all in that area. And, you know, it's just because there's no rocks in that area. But I visited another grove of giant sequoias and saw how devastated they were. And there was no plant material either. And no rocks. I really kept looking because I was trying to like feed my heart, you know, with the rocks. So I was open. I was open looking for rocks, and there were none to be found. And I thought, wow, what if I could see my house from up on the top of this ridge? And so I got off the path that I was on and I started walking up this ridge. And so that was, again, just feeding my own like spirit of discovery. Like, might I be able to see my house if I walk up here? And so I step off the path and I walk up, I don't know, maybe 10 or 15 feet off of the path that I would have been on. And I discover an eagle feather. And so eagles are very rare in this part of California. There's probably a handful of them. And this is the feather of a golden eagle. It appears I left it in the forest, but this is a photo of me with the eagle feather. These are rare, rare. And so the forest, I mean, half of the trees were completely dead. Half of the giant sequoias were completely dead. All of the plants were completely dead. It had no quartz, none that I could find. But I stayed open, and I found a very rare and special item that I left up there in the forest. And so as I talk about the big goal and like go out and hike, it's really easy to think about it as like, okay, I'm gonna go hike 5 miles and it'll be 1,000-foot elevation gain and I'll be able to burn off 400 calories or just whatever it is. I don't even know. I don't even know because that's not why I hike, which you might have guessed from this video. It's not why we should hike. It is not the spirit in which we should hike. Because what has gotten me through all of these days and has helped me maintain this weight for 4 years, especially through a very devastating time for me personally in the last year, is the spirit with which I go out and hike. This all reminded me of something from back in 2017 when I was at my high weight and I really couldn't hike. So as I said, I would drive my sons around and I was just hobbling around with an injured knee, and I'd forgotten about this aspect. I added adventure to it and I had forgotten. So these are like these unappreciated things that you do that got you through and you just forget about. So back when I weighed nearly 280 pounds, maybe I'd already lost 10 pounds at that point. So I was probably 270 pounds. We started camping and going on trips, going on lots of day trips. And at the same time, we had been watching episodes of Little House on the Prairie. And there was an episode of Little House on the Prairie where the Ingalls family and they all go camping. They go camping, and we noticed in the end credits that it was filmed in Kennedy Meadows. Well, there's a Kennedy Meadows just over the ridge from here. And so we wondered, like, where did they actually film that? And we took a screenshot of it. I should try to find this screenshot, but it's them at this high mountain stream with this amazing ridge behind them. And we really set it as a goal to find out exactly where they filmed that, exactly where that shot was, and maybe to recreate it. And so we went over to Kennedy Meadows with the photo and we started asking around. We asked at the ranger station. We asked at the general store. And the funny thing is, at the ranger station, we met a woman named Anne, and we are still in touch with Anne. Anne is so great. And the way we kind of really became fast friends with Anne is because we were taking this picture around asking about this. And I think she was just really fascinated, like, who does this? And so there we were. And so she then got on the phone and she was calling like old time Kennedy Meadows people saying, do you remember? Maybe it would have been in like 1973 that this was filmed up here. And no one could remember. But I asked at the general store. And the funny thing is, we then went to a fire lookout and I could hear as I was like very slowly walking up all these steps to the fire lookout, I could hear the discussions inside the fire lookout. And I kid you not, there were people in that fire lookout talking about us, saying like they didn't know I was walking up. They're just saying, "Oh yeah, well there's someone at the store who's asking about the little house on the prairie." And so the point is, we went all over the region that year asking people and making friends, and it really fueled like the spirit and the excitement of that part of the summer for us. And so there I wasn't able to get out and pick all the spearmint. Physically, I was not able to, but I was able to take that photo around into the store and ask and all that. That's how I did it. That spirit of adventure. And the interesting thing is with that photo, so what we came to learn was there's a second Kennedy Meadows and it's a little further north. But we were sure this episode of Little House was filmed right here at this Kennedy Meadows. And so that's why we were investigating it. But it would turn out it was September of 2020 when we learned where it was filmed. And the way that we learned it kind of blows my mind because it was in our own living room as we were shipping out all those books through our little post office. And you guys have probably seen our post office story about how we shipped 10,000 books and nearly broke the post office. And one of the people who helped us, we hired a former retired postmaster who's our neighbor. He's about 6 houses down. And he would come in and help package the books. And as we would sit packaging the books together, he just chatted and he started chatting about the days he lived near like Sonora Pass. And he said, I used to love watching them film Little House on the Prairie. And we're like, what? What? And he said, yeah, they used to film at Kennedy Meadows, the other Kennedy Meadows. And so the answer to that photo was like 6 doors down all of those years. The answer was right there. And thank goodness we didn't know it. Thank goodness we didn't know the answer or that the answer was 6 doors down because we had a heck of a time trying to figure out where that was filmed, even though we were looking in the whole wrong place. None of that mattered anyway because it was all about meeting those people. It was all about discussing it, all of the elements of excitement and discovery that were wrapped up in that photo. That is what like drove so much excitement for us back in 2017 while I weighed 270 pounds and couldn't go out and hike like fervently for that spearmint like I can today. And that spirit of adventure has really been highlighted for me recently too. So not only in things like this rock, which I just found this one just about 10 days ago, but also thinking back on that little house photo and what kind of connections it made for us, like friends, cool people that we met like along the way, and how it apparently kept me very engaged and excited and focused on that goal, even though I could almost not even walk. Okay, I stayed focused and I stayed engaged. I look at the things in my life that drive this part of me, this part of my spirit, the things that are not plants, like this, like the feather, because then it was about just a week ago now, I found a condor feather. Condors are rare also here. They're rare birds, and I found a tail feather of a condor. I mean, who finds a condor feather and who finds an eagle feather in the same season in a burned out forest amongst the devastation of the forest? I do. I find it. And it was that same spirit of discovery and thinking about like that little house photo that is driving a new adventure here for me in my life. And you're going to see seeds of that coming out here on this channel. And it's what I guess I, at this point, will call the Arkansas post office story. I will start talking more about that. It comes from this part of me, this part of my heart, this spirit of discovery that I think is so critical to all of us, to long-term health, long-term weight loss, certainly weight maintenance, all of these aspects of our physical and mental health. With weight loss, what we eat needs to be on point. We know that. We know that. And what we eat here at Eat Like a Bear is. I feel like we've kind of nailed that. But what further makes Eat Like a Bear distinct? We talk about the big goal all the time. That certainly is like a unique part of the Eat Like a Bear message. This spirit of discovery in the context of the big goal, I believe, is so fundamentally critical, certainly based on my last year and my getting through the devastation, the loss of the plants. Eat on point, make your goal big. But guys, let's get out, let's discover, let's explore when it feels like everything is gone. Let's remember there's always something. There's always something waiting for us. I feel like we just need to work at opening our minds and our hearts to receive it. And that may be the key to all of this.